Hello, everyone. I'm just going through simple JavaScript to show my student and show you as well how you can create a JavaScript program to do some mathematical equations like finding standard deviations, the means, the highest number, the smallest number, and things like that. My students are doing another course while they're doing my web application development course. They are doing a course called LSM, which is basic mathematics, and they're using some of those formulas. So I would like them to see how that can be done in JavaScript, and that hopefully will help them understand better the mathematic side of it and how it works. I'll just show you an example of something I already have, and then we'll go through the process of creating our own one, which I hope will be interesting. So here is what we'll have. We'll basically have a place where you can add numbers. So I'm entering the number 4, so it appears here. If I add 5, it goes there. Say 60, it keeps adding it here. And as you can see, it draws a graph there, and also it does some basic calculations. Finding the minimum value is 4 here, the maximum is 60, total is 65, the mean is 23.00, and the standard deviation is 32.05. And that's the way it works. So you can continue doing that, and it will go and change the graph and do the calculation. You can reset everything and go back to the default. So what are we going to do now? We'll do that. Basically, we have some files already here, which I created in HTML, so I don't want to waste your time doing that. It's a very simple HTML. I'm just linking to JavaScript. One is I took from chart.js, which is a very useful library, help you to draw so many different charts in a very easy way, which we'll go through that one. And the other one is the one we're going to create, which our LSM1003.js. As you can see, the HTML is basic, math calculator is at the head, and then I have a basic form here that allow the user to enter the value he or she wanted to calculate. And then there is a button here, one for adding a new data, add a number, it will add it to the number, and there's other one for clearing the data. Then there is a place for displaying the data on the screen. I'm just using a paragraph. Another place for displaying the stats coming from that, the means, the average, the maximum, the minimum, all those different things. And we can sorry, we can do more if we need to do that. And then we have a place where the graph will appear. The rest are very simple. In fact, this I don't need now. Yeah, so that's where is my code. And the CSS is just a formatting all those different components, and I'm sure you're familiar with CSS. But if you're not, you need just to go and look at the basic CSS course. Let's get started here. And the form we have now, if we just try to look at what we have, and let me see, this is our folder where I put those different files you have. If I double click on this, it comes this window. It's now nothing is working. If I add a number, it doesn't add anything. If I clear, it doesn't do anything, because you don't have the JavaScript required to do that. So I'm using Microsoft Visual Studio Code. It's not the complete Visual Studio, because I'm basically doing some programming. And as you saw that I have the HTML, I have CSS. Now we start doing the coding here. What do we need for this application? I'll be using array. So the array will help me in terms of adding all those elements or data, and then later I can search for the minimum, the maximum, do some calculation to find the mean, calculation to do the standard deviation, and then I can also use that data to draw the chart. So first thing we'll just put a variable, array variable, we'll call it num, and we'll keep it empty. So that's a global variable everybody will use. I'm just putting it there, and then we will create a label. The label where we'll have the graph numbers come here. I need to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or or whatever label I want to put later. I can do that, but let's just leave that that one. Then I need a counter that counts for me how many elements I have added, and it keeps increasing that number by 1. So I'll just put I. First function will do should be a very simple function which adding those numbers. Why? Because we here said when the user click on this button it will call this function. So let's take this function and come here and basically create it. Okay, so the function, what it will do, it will assign the value that the user entered in this input box here. It will assign it and add it to the first or second or third element of the array. It depends on where we are in the array. So we'll say num, this is our array. Index will be I, whatever is I. At the beginning I is 0, of course, because we just started there. But later we'll increment it. So I next time will be 1. So we're talking about the element number 2 in the array. As you know, the array in JavaScript has the index 0 for the first one and 1 for the second one. So this is the basic document get element by ID, which we will use to find what the user input. So the user input will be whatever the ID of this one. So the ID is num. So num is basically will be added here. So this way we're getting the user input. Then value. So we're getting the value from that element. So now we assign whatever the user inputs to the array element. So element at the first time will be 0 as we said. Then what we can do, what we need to do is to increase the I by 1. So now we are moving to element number 2 or the next element in fact. Okay, that's fine, but I would like to display whatever the user entered in this place here. So what I'm doing, I'm thinking to create a function called display display what we'll call it, display data or data. Okay, so that function will be called, and that function will be responsible of displaying the data. Let's look at what that function can be. So we'll say display function display data, and now here we will, what we need to do, we need to add those data as a string, so they come one after the other. I'll get, if I enter 5, come 5, then space 6, then space, so they are all stored in one string. Okay, so what I will do here, I can create something called D1, for example, which is a string, an empty string that has nothing in it now as a start. And then I do a loop, I go through the array. How many elements do I have in that array? I don't know how many, but now we'll go from I equals 0 until I, while I is less than what our array name is num.length. As you may know, this way you can get the how many elements are in the array using the array name dot length. So that's a loop now which will start, and inside the loop we will start now accumulating those data. So we'll make the D display our data, and then we can get it on the screen. So what we need to do now, we need to get whatever stored into D1. Want to collect data in D1, and then we display whatever stored in D1. So how we collect data in D1? So D1 will be whatever is D1 at the beginning, equal D1 plus, now whatever the user entered for the array so far, how many elements there. So now if we do this, this is basically we're going through the array, starting from array element 0, and then the loop will go and fill this, and every time it added something to the D. The problem with this, all the text will come near each other, so I need just to have a space here. Okay, so I'll just allow space between those elements, and this way those elements will be somehow far from each other. Now let me do one thing, just display this data back to the form or to the HTML. In the HTML, I put a place here called data or ID called data. So this will display the results. So I'll go back here and say document get element by ID. That's it. And then what is the ID is data or data. Then dot inner HTML. Inner HTML is the way you use it to send something back to your form. So we'll call it D1. As simple as it is, later we'll be adding some extra things, like when you click on display, we'll get it to draw the graph. We'll do that. That's not going to be a big task. So let me just save this one. Control S. Here to save it on Mac, and then I will refresh this one, and let's see what will happen now. We enter 1 came here, we enter 4 came there, 5 came there, and we can continue entering whatever data. And now we need the reset to work, but before we do that, it's maybe better to have a comma then space. Yeah, maybe better. So let me refresh and say 1 and add. Not good because my comma is coming first. Now I didn't like that comma space. Let's leave it, and later we'll figure a better way to do it, because so now it's going fine, and I'm adding. Okay, we need a way now to clear it. So if I click on clear, it will clear it. So what we can create a new function. Let's call it function. What should we call it? Is already specified here. We're calling it clear data. So let's just copy it to make sure we are really doing the correct one. So you do not use a different name later. It's a common mistake most programmers do. First thing I think we need to do is we can have a variable called D1, or we'll call it data now. So data1 equal empty. So basically what I want to do is display an empty value there. And basically what I can do, I can say document get element by document dot get element by ID. This is something you just now remember by name. And the index where I want to clear the data is basically this place I want to clear, and this place in my HTML is called data. Yeah, so back here, so I'm putting data dot inner HTML, and I can basically do this. It will be clear. Now the problem with this, yes, it will clear, yes, but the problem, it will keep the array in the memory. So the array will still there in the memory of my computer. So I just refresh and add some data. So I can add, I clear, it's gone, but it's already there. If I add something, it will come after that. So I'm clearing, but it's still bringing, because I did not clear the array. Basically, I want to clear the array. Now, clearing the array should be easy. I can just initiate it by just doing that. By doing this, it's clear. Let me also clear the LBL, although I did not use the LBL yet. It's just not to forget. And also I can reset the I to 0. In fact, I need to do that because I don't want to get this data complicated. And that's the way it will clear our data. Later I will again maybe need to call display data instead of doing this, which is a better way to do it, because display data is already maybe let me do it now. I'm doing it this way. Let's do that and say here we'll call display data, okay, semicolon, and basically display data, it will reset D to empty, and then the loop will have nothing there because the array is empty, and then it will display the same thing. So that's a more efficient way of doing our code. And the good thing about it, it will also later it will reset the graph for me when I do the graph. So this is a better way to do it. I basically what I did, I just resetted all the arrays I have as empty. I cleared everything in them, and then I went back and said display data. Of course, it will display nothing there because everything has gone. Good. That's a very easy thing we have done. We can do later validation if we need it and things like that, but it's a very simple one. I will do that. Now we need a function to find, for example, the minimum value. Okay. So let's say function, and this function will call it minimum. Okay. And yes, JavaScript has a function to do that, but let's create our own function to just better understand the logic and use the array properly. So we'll create a variable called we'll assume the first value in our element is the minimum, and then we'll go and check every other element. If you find one is smaller than the one we assume is the minimum, we will make the new one is the minimum, and then we continue the loop. So our minimum value will call min1, for example, equal the first value in our array. What is the first value? Is in num0, and that's it. Now, just one thing to be careful with. Sometimes this comes not as a number, so you just parse it to int is better. Parse int, and this way it becomes integer. So we're working with integer values, yeah? We can parse it to float if we later going to be using float numbers. Float is better because you will include also integer in it. But let's now do it this way, and then I want you to try yourself to do the other way. Now what we need to do, as we said, we need to go through the whole array and compare every element with our assumed element, which is the first one. If something is less than that, then it becomes the one. So we need a for loop again. For I equals 0 while I is less than num dot length. I don't know why I use this num, but anyway, semicolon, sorry, I plus plus, and then let's have here our if statement. So now we would like to compare every element. So f num of I, yeah, first time it is what, of 0, more than we're looking at the minimum, yeah, less than or equal min 1. Yeah. So what we're saying, any element you find here, if you go into a loop, take every element and compare it with this one here. Okay. Assume yes, it is less than the one we're looking for. Then we can say our new minimum will be our new min. So what we're doing, we're resetting this one. We reset to what? To what? To num of I, whatever is that I, because it depends on where we are in the array. If we're in the first one, it will be the same. Second one will be different numbers. You compare that one. If the second number is better, smaller than the other number, then we do that, and we continue that way. Again, I will parse this one to integer because I'm just assuming I'm using integers. Again, if you want to use float, you can float it as you like. Now this is done, so we need to return, we need this function. Once it's done all this, I went through the loop, I went through one by one, and now finished everything. Now I wanted to return the minimum, which min 1. Okay, so that way that minimum will go back to the caller function. What we need to do, we need this to happen after in the display data. So the display data will display the data on the screen, but also should display for us here the minimum and maximum and everything. So we'll go back to the display data, and now here we will start adding all those things. Now where we should add them, I created a space called here stat, id stat. So I wanted to come here. Let me, sorry, document dot get element by id, and the id is stat, isn't it? Then what we're saying is we're displaying it as inner HTML equal, and then we need to start here. Let's say minimum space plus, and we're calling the function min. Yeah, so that way it's going now to display the minimum for me on that file. Let's test it. I hope we have no errors or anything. So let's go ahead. Minimum is 2. Oh, we just went with a small number. So let's add. Now see minimum, we added 1. This should change to 1. Yeah, so it's working. Clear it, and let's start by 20. So the minimum is for sure 20. Now we'll go 30. And then I'll say 5. It jumps, become 5, the minimum. Very good. Now the other function now we'll create will be symbol 1, yeah? The maximum as you expect. So we'll copy this one, put it here, and call it max. Okay, and he'll say the max 1 is the first value, and the same thing, and here basically will be instead of less than more than, and should be max 1, and this should be max 1. We're just flipping everything, yeah, and we're returning max 1. Good. What basically we need to do, we need to come here and add to this one plus space. I'll just put a break here, and I'll say maximum, and then add here plus max. That's very simple thing. Back here and refresh. Let's add 6. It's the minimum, is the maximum, isn't it? The first one. Now we'll add 8. Now the maximum became 8. So we continue adding. So we'll say 100. Maximum became 100. We'll add 5. Minimum became 5. And that's it. It's working perfect, yeah? I'm sure you like it. and you are enjoying this so far. Just hoping that. Now let's do the total. So function total, and again total is another way to just we need a loop. Yeah. So basically, let me copy this loop which I already have here. Maybe a little bit lazy. I can copy the whole thing. Why should I copy? It should be a simple thing to do. Let's do that together. Total equals 0. Okay, and then again, sorry for that. And then go back here, and we'll say total equal total. I know I can use plus, yeah, that's fine. Plus num of I. See, because the array is now global array, so things are working with no problem. So that's the total, and that's how simple it is. Basically, I just like to ensure this is coming as a number. So pers and get this comma number, and otherwise I'll get numbers beside numbers beside numbers coming as the total. Now I think you know what I need to do. I'll go back here and add a plus. Let's just put it here, and we'll say total, then plus total as a function. Yeah, so we're calling the function total. Just I was not focusing. It's okay, so it's better now. So refresh, and now it will come. Yeah, then it's better. So total is coming, but total is coming near this one. The solution is easy. A break here will do that, and then things should look better than before. And it's coming. See, total is increasing, maximum is increasing now, minimum is down. Oh, very good. So these are all simple things. As you can see, you can do in JavaScript as you do in other programming, and it is fun. Now let's do the mean, which a little bit maybe not the easiest one should be the mean. Basically, the mean is the average, or you can add all the numbers together, get the total, and divide the total by the number of elements you have. So it will be just a basic single line. Yeah. So function, we'll call it mean of, and that's the math you did. So what we will return to the user is return back as total as a function. Yeah, means it will call the function total and then find how many elements there by using this one, length. Okay, so that's basically will do that. But again, if I want to just make sure this is 2 decimal points, because when you divide you'll get so many different points, you can divide it, use the function. Okay, let's see how it will go. Use 3 okay, 2. Now we didn't call the, again here we need to call that function. So plus, thank you for reminding me, I hope you did. Okay, so the mean plus, we're calling the function mean, which will return to us for the mean. Now if you refresh, you need to remember you save your file and then refresh and go see, all is coming there, So the mean is always the same because it's the same number entered. Now once you change the number, you start getting those. So we don't want it to look like that. So where is that mean one? We just use this magic to fixed 2, and that's what will get it working. So if we refresh, put 3 and go ahead, okay, put now 6, and things will come only 2 decimal points. Yeah, done with the mean. Now the fun is with the standard deviation. Again, it's not that complicated, but we need first to understand the concept of standard deviation. Have another page open there. What is that page? Is it standard calculate? Let me find you the formula. Deviation, yeah. It's a basic and fun formula. Here it is. Okay, so that's it. Now it depends on how many elements you have. If you have odd or even numbers, we'll come to that one later, but let's just look at this is the formula. Basically what you do, you take every element in your array one by one. This is what I. You subtract from that one the mean, which you already calculated. Take to the power 2, okay, and then you add them all together, and then you divide by n, or n minus 1. We'll talk about it later, and you take the square root. So this website is nice when it gives you an example. Say if you have these numbers, what you do first, you find the mean. You add them all and you divide by the number of numbers. There are 20 here. So you get 7. So your mu or mean is 7. Now what you do, you go there and you take one by one those here. So each element number, this 9, you take from a 7, 2 you take from a 7, each one, and every time you take the square, take it to the power 2, and then it goes that way. So 9 minus 7 to the power 2, which 2 become 4, and then all this, and you add them all together, those values all together, and then what you go, and that's what means the sum, as you know. So you get this number here. Then you divide it by the n, and you get the result. Okay. So let's do that. Let's first do step by step. Let's find a way we can take from each number the mean, multiply it by 2, and add it all together. Okay, and then get that number, and that number we'll play with it. Okay. So we'll create a function. What should I call it? std capital. Yeah, let's do that. And now here what we'll say std1 is always, that's my way doing it, is start by std1, whatever is the function name. I use lowercase and not 1. That's the way I do. And we'll find the mean. The mean will put it m, and we'll be calling our function that will calculate the mean. So now we put standard deviation 0. We have our mean as is calculated calculated by the function mean. Okay, so m will store that value. Now we need to go through a loop now and do that. Subtract each element, subtract the mean from each element, and do take it to the power 2. So the for loop again, which we're doing for some time. I wish they can find a way. This for loop, you just call it. It does things anyway. So and while num dot length, and then I plus plus. So what we did here, basically we're going through a loop which we're familiar with already. So our standard deviation std1 equal std1 plus, now here we'll do that subtractions, yeah. I can do this in 2 steps, but let's do it just in one step. So we'll say basically num, let's put it in the bracket, yeah, num of I, whatever that I, sorry, of I, whatever that I, take from it the m, yeah, this together, and this we need to do the to the power 2. So basically what we're saying, as they're doing here, they're taking from each number the mean, or this is the formula. What is that formula? Basic formula. I'm sorry. Here it is. So what they were doing is this part here, xi minus mu, or minus the mean. That's what we're doing. So we said xi is, in our case, is num I minus m, which our mean, and this need to go to the power of 2. So we'll use a special function in JavaScript, math square root, yeah, square root, and then in the square root to the I think not square root, I'm sorry, I want to take to the power, yeah. So let me delete this, I'm sorry, math dot is it b power, yeah, like all other. Okay, so this one, so this one to the power 2. Okay, let me explain. Basically what we're saying, we are subtracting this one from this one, and you notice that I put them in 2 brackets. So these are done first, and this math power will, whatever the value coming as a result of this one, will be taken to the power of 2. Okay, so this way we basically doing the sum of this. So each one we're going to calculate, and then we add them together by using std1 equal std1 plus. So what we completed now is this part, yeah. We did not do the upper part with the square root, we did not do the dividing by n. So basically what we did, we took from each x or each array element the mean, multiply by 2, and add them together, accumulate them by just using that way. So this way we have done this. Okay, that is very good. Now one thing we need to do, we need to check if that's an even number or odd number. And let me just assume now I'm using just only one formula. I'm assuming they are all even number, but later we'll do a small function to find us if it is even and use a different formula, if it is odd using a different formula. So basically let's take just the normal thing. So standard deviation will be in this case. Now we need the square root, yeah? This is square root, yeah? Square root. So what I'll do, I'll use math dot square, sorry, math m capital, math dot square root, that's it, of what value? Basically what we do, we need to divide the std1 by the number of elements. So std1 divided by number of elements, which again the same thing, num dot length, isn't it? Okay, so that value which coming as a result here, so that that's our value, which then we'll take the square root 2. Yeah, okay, good. So you can look at this as 2 elements. This is the one here, which basically dividing whatever the std1 came from there by the number of elements, yeah, which according to this formula, this total here divided by n, and then the function outside square root will take whatever coming here and take the square root of it here, and that's will do this for us. What we need now, after we have done all this, we need to return the standard deviation back. So return and std. Again, the problem with this return, it will return with so many decimal points. So again, 2 fixed 2, and let's close this one and this one. I always like to put the return between brackets, yeah, because many times you, yeah, anyway, let's see now. Is everything correct? I'm just getting a feeling that you have done something wrong. Let's come back to our display, yeah, add here a new paragraph. Okay, std standard deviations, then add and call that std function. We'll see how it's going to work now. Refresh and let's hope it will work. Okay, I have something wrong there. I told you I have something wrong. I have feeling that I have done something. One is here, it should be BR. That's one thing to fix quickly, and that should be easy. My calculation is not going, yeah, it's correct, because basically I kept using the same data, yeah. Now it's working perfect, yeah. So you can see the standard deviation being calculated and going perfect with no problem. Thank you, everyone. That was a great work we're doing. So let's go now. That's function of, I want to check if it is even. So this one will be -1. If it is if it is odd number, -1. If it's even, as it is. Let's do that. So we can create a basic function which we'll call it is even, and we'll pass to it n. Okay, so basically this one, what it will do, it will return the n, and the n will be either true or false. Return, what's wrong with me? Return, and then we return n equal. That's sort of checking if we are doing the right thing. Let me just think of what yeah. So we'll need to have a condition here, yeah. So let's use birth float. I'll just explain it in a minute. Now I use float. Why? Because the standard the numbers can be float. Integer should be fine. Okay, and n remaining by dividing by 2 is 0. I seem I have extra bracket that I have to do. No, yeah, it's not. So if there is no remaining, but after you divide by 2, there is no remaining, and that means it will return true. Yeah, good. So let's have here, use that function here. So you can say f is even, and then what we will pass to that one is is just our num.length, yeah. So basically we're sending to this function this value, and if in case the return is equal true, means this is an even number, then what we'll do, we'll just use that one. Else, assume it's not really true, then what we will do, we'll take this one and we will divide this minus 1. Why I'm doing this, because if you go back to that mathematic, you will see so if it's even, you just divide by n, but then if you have an odd number, in case of this example, you divide by n minus 1, yeah. So that's why we just use this function, which basically it does do a condition and check if that condition is true, which dividing by 2, and there's no remaining, and then it is and it's not 0 as well. So let's go and do a test here. Maybe I should detach this one from here and do refresh. So make sure just our calculation is correct. So put 9, 2, 5, 4, 12, and 7. So what coming 3.3? Let's see if they solve it here, come the same thing. The mean came 6.5, correct? And standard deviation 3.619, 3.619, because I mixed the things together. I mix things together because here I should be dividing by minus 1, and this should be without 1. Okay, so let's refresh again. I hope I did save. Refresh and go back here and do the same thing. So where are those nice numbers? It's a very good test case. So 9, add 2, we add 5, we add 4, so I'm taking time to do this, 12, and 7. Very good, okay, correct. So what I do now, just I need a function that will basically return to me the whole array. So when I want later to draw the chart, I need the whole data stored in the array, and then I can pass it to other functions. So let's make it just a basic function, which very basic, basically my data, we'll call it, and it does only one thing: return number. Just basically return the whole array. Now I want to do the chart which we spoke about here. So this chart I'm using a service. There's a website called chart.js. If you go there, it's a really very great website. Look at the documentation. So they have a library, chart.js, and you have so many documentation there to show you how to do bar chart, line chart, all those different charts. So what I'll basically do, I'll just download that one, and I already downloaded into my JavaScript, and I have this file, chart mini.js. This is the small version of it, but it does so many great things. I'll create a function. In fact, I'll just can copy the code from the company website, and then we will use it here. Let me see, where is it? Yeah, here is the code. So we'll create a function. We don't function draw chart. Okay, so let's copy the code from the website for that function, and here is the code. I'm just trying to copy the whole. It's two parts of it. If you can go to the website, you'll find it. So that's basically the code you need. And here it has two things. One is the label. It needs a label, so I need to create a function to do that. I'll do that. Let's just leave this one now empty, and I can put an array of 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just leave it like that. And then here it again using the day. But let me just create another function, or basically let's do one thing. Call my data function. So my data, I'll put it here. The way it's structured, you can see they have on object variable they created here called buyer data, and within that there is a data set and other things which will be there. And then what will it set the color, the background, other things which you can play with it. And this object, once it's created there, for the data part, I called my function my data, which this function basically. So it's here, and then I'm using the buyers on my buyer index on my page, which we have it here, this one. And then what are basically we're doing, we sending back or drawing the graph into that, and that's the way to do it. And this is new, creating new. The whole thing coming from the website. The only change I need the data to replace it with my data using here. And also for the label, if I can get my label is better. This is why I need to create a function. We'll call it my label. Yeah, I'm doing it this way. Let me put a space. Okay, function my label. And this function, what I'll do, just make a basic one where I can take those numbers. We have array, say you have 7 array, so I need a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 comes in that array. So basically I'll do a for loop. So my horizontal line, where is it? We'll find it. My horizontal line will be basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the index of the element, and the vertical one will be the actual data. So again, I equal 0 while I less than num length I plus plus. Then what I can just do with LBL. Did we call our array LBL? If you remember at the top here, we create one called LBL. So our LBL of I equal I. So it'll be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it will start by 0. If I want to start by 1, I can add just 1 here. And then I can return it, return LBL. Again, I like to put it between bracket. Okay, so you return it back as LBL. So basically this function will create 1, 2, 3, 4 to the length of our array. So what we'll do here, we'll come back here and call that function my lowercase here, my label, and it's a function, yeah. So that's fine. Notice here I don't have semicolon because this is part of the object. Yeah, it's not a line on its own. And those parameters we can all change later and give them something different. So we done that, but we did not call this function. So where do you think we should call this function? It's our magic place which display data. So where is our display data? Here it is. So after all those data, we just call that function and it will draw the graph. Now where are we? Let's get our page comes back to life and it is refreshed already. So let's start by 60 and let's enter 60. Something, see, it came 61, yeah, because there's nothing there, so it's still small, yeah. Let's see, came beautiful. Now if it's a linear, it will go 80, it will continue like a line, but if it goes up to 120, assume, wow, then 100 again, yes, 70 again, going down, so started going down, 50, and then 200. So that's basically how it works. So drawing the chart was a very easy thing. We copied the code from that website, which this is the code you need for that, and it just changed our data and it's working. But for it to work, as you know, in my HTML, I linked this library, yeah, and I downloaded this library on my computer. So this is the library, yeah. So basically that's what it is, and you can play with this one now, and this should help you understand the mathematics. Because basically if we want to look at grade distribution and assume we have grade distribution going 5 points, so someone scores 60 and someone sorry someone scores 65, then 70, 75, 80. So all the data coming here and this coming very well. 90 and another one scored 90. So one scored 100. That's very good. Now if I go down the other way, it will become like a normal distribution. So I go down 90, I go down 90 again because I have to. I'll go 80. I'll go 75, 70, 65, 60, and 60. So it looks like somehow it's a bell curve, and I'm getting the mean 75 and the standard deviation around 12.3 or 0.6 or 13. Most of the university use that for normalization between 75 and 10, and if your grade distribution like that. So basically we have done it, and it's a very simple thing. Let's go and review quickly. So we'll go into the file we created. We named it LSM1103, one function to just add the data. Every time the user enter the data, it creates a new element using the index I. First time index I is 0, and then that's the user input. Then increment the index by 1 and display the result. Display the result, basically do a loop and go through the whole data, and then display a line there, and also does display the minimum, maximum, and others using those functions here. One to calculate minimum, which is a very simple one, taking the first one and say it's a minimum, comparing it with every single one. As soon as it finds something less than that one, it makes the new one is the minimum, and the maximum the opposite way, calculating total. The mean is easy one, you're dividing that total by the number of items. Standard deviation is a little bit more complicated, but I think you now understand it. And then have a function to find if it's even number or not even number by dividing by 2 and finding the remainder of that. If there's no remainders, this is even, and then making sure that is the number. Then comes drawing the chart. I just created one function here called my data, so it sends me the whole array. So in the chart, I can just assign the array to the data and assign the other array which I have here, which the label to the label, and then it will draw the chart. And that as easy as it is. And in the HTML is a very simple HTML. The CSS should not be a problem for you to understand. It's just formatting the page. And I would say this is not the best formatting because I was not focusing on the formatting. I want you to understand the JavaScript. I'm sure you can do better than me with your creativity and art skills. Thank you very much for watching this video.